Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the CIL, the Collegiate iRacing League here, if you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube here tonight. And we have a good one back to the oval side after last week's road adventure in Japan. We head back to the United States, down to Concord in Charlotte for this one here at the 1.5-mile D-shaped oval that's going to play host here tonight. John, as we've continued down this oval season, talk to us a little bit about those points leaders there.
Yeah, it's getting pretty tight up there at the front. We've got a lot of guys competing in pretty close battles up there on the oval side for the students. UNC Charlotte Machine is stretched into a tie with NC State at 81 points right now. So that's going to be Jared Kaler, and I think that's Jamie Lawrence. Or sorry, not Jamie Lawrence, the other NC State Machine. NC State's not even Jamie Lawrence anyways. UC Berkeley is sitting in third right now on 79 points. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge going into this battle. Really tight up at the front. Then a bit of a gap down to St. Joseph's College in fourth, about an 11-point gap there, who is also tied with Florida International University in 68 points, and that's going to be represented by Christian Gomez and Esteban Munoz. So pretty tight points battle. This is round 3 out of 6, and the drivers will get that drop round at the end of the season. So you can have one bad performance, but not much more than that if you want to be sitting at the top of the standings. But we've got some pretty familiar faces looking fast already tonight. Guys like Jared Kaler are already looking pretty quick. Austin Farr also looking really quick. I'm looking for Thomas Toomey as well to try to have a more clean race and find some luck that he's been missing in the last few races and try to score some points for Virginia. Virginia's having a little bit of a struggle in the points right now. So I think we've got a good race on our hands tonight. Josh, what do you think, man? How are these cars going to be able to tackle this track? How's that track temp looking? What are we after tonight?
Well, this evening the Cup cars are going to be bringing the package with a little bit calmer horsepower motors, and so these guys are going to be together, and they're going to have a lot of downforce. So they are going to try and get to that bottom line. You're going to see them hugging the blue this evening, and so even through the trial, well, that's going to be one of the points where those drivers have a chance to put a nose underneath and think of an old Bristol, old Martinsville, the first driver to the bottom is going to have an advantage. That's what we've been hearing the drivers say as they practice this evening and get ready. So that'll be something to watch for. But the other thing to watch for is going to be tires. John, you mentioned, I think after about 10 laps or so, these cars lose a second or almost a second, about 8/10 on lap time. So it's going to be pretty significant, the tire fall off that we see and how these drivers conserve that. Whereas it may be faster to go around the bottom. Maybe look for some of these guys midway through a run, especially if we get a green flag run, to try and take maybe an upper groove, maybe do something around the top. We know that iRacing has updated some of its parameters in the simulation to allow these drivers to do that. So everybody getting set and finding where the limit is. You can see the flag man. He is waving the checkered flag on practice, and we're going to think about qualifying.
Yeah, in terms of practice times, your leaders in practice, Jared Kaler and Austin Farr, setting identical lap times in practice, 29.576, closely followed up by the 76 car driven by Matthew Nordberg, and then Thomas Toomey for Virginia, Alexander Klenk there in 5th as well. And that's actually top 5 students all the way through. We mentioned windshield banners and numbers already, so 3-digit numbers are going to be alumni, 2-digit numbers are all going to be students, as we watch Michael Kaholich in, I think, his second start on the oval side for Angelo State University, running out there hoping to get a good performance. And he was really quick in practice yesterday night. I was trying to follow him and try to learn a little bit from him, and he showed some real speed out there. A couple other pretty quick guys there too, but not everybody represented in that practice, including guys like Jared Kaler and Austin Farr, who obviously are going to be pretty tough to beat. Jared, who do you got for tonight? Who's your fast pick going to be?
Well, my pick last week was Michael Kaholich, and it was kind of out there. It was the new driver. We were at Dover, and it seemed like kind of a tough pick. But I tell you what, Kaholich had a pretty good practice session, and I think tonight's about staying out of trouble. And I'm going to go with Kaholich again, back-to-back weeks as we watch On Board with him here. I think he's got what it takes here at Charlotte. Josh?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, guys. We have a newcomer, Alexander Klenk from WPI, and he has done a couple of these left turn only events, but he is quick, and even in practice he was good at avoiding the smoke at avoiding the cars that weren't following the flow of traffic. So I think that he is a driver with the smarts to keep his car there at the end. I don't know if we'll find victory lane tonight, but I do want to watch pretty closely, see if he can try. You see he's got the line figured out, and yeah, he's going to get right down to that blue line in turn 2 and just drift out to the wall there. So a couple of these guys trying to figure out how this is going to play, and I'm watching Alexander Clank from Worcester Polytechnic Institute to see how he's going to fare tonight. Looking for him up front.
Yeah, I think both are great choices for sure, though I don't think you can ever count out Austin Farr. We've seen him be a master at the restarts. He's pretty hard to beat, so if he's starting up front, it's a pretty good chance that he'd like to stay there and probably can do that with a fair amount of ease. We've seen him lead off for that Tennessee machine pretty fast on a lot of these races. But I know the FIU guys, Christian Gomez especially, are looking for a pretty strong performance tonight. He's had podiums already in the series, I think on the road side, and he's definitely looking to make their entrance onto the oval side and start collecting their podiums. Carl Emkuhl, another driver that would probably like to have a repeat podium. He is a alumni driver, so he's going to be really competing with guys like, I'm thinking about Carl Emkuhl's competing with Nick Trollman and Andrew McCall. And Maximilian Bui is actually a student, but a 3-digit number. But there's some other guys in there. Jeremy Rogers for Texas A&M, also a really quick alumni driver. And they are separate in points. The oval student drivers and oval alumni drivers are scored separately. So you're kind of having a mid-class battle even on the oval side. Despite the cars being identical in setup, they can only do performance-based adjustments to the cars. So guys, complain a little bit of a tight setup for this track tonight. Josh, how do you combat that across a full race?
Well, I think that they will be able to manage those tires. When you have that tight setup, you're going to try and rotate the car early into the corner and try to give that car more of a slip angle so that it drives off the right rear tire and you wear that right rear tire out evenly as you do the right front. The other thing that these guys are going to have to manage is as that goes on, going into turn 1 and going into turn 3 is going to be tricky. It's going to be difficult for those guys as the car wants to get loose as it goes up over and into the banking and then lands. Before it lands, that back end is going to be very light for some of these guys, especially as they try to go flat into turn 1 on those worn tires. So a little bit of a tight setup. These drivers, though, will be able to combat that with how they drive the car. And guys, we've seen it before. The best ones rise to the occasion and adjust. So going to be exciting to see that.
Yeah, definitely agree. And we mentioned Florida International earlier, and it's currently got pole right now. Christian Gomez in this number 65 car sitting on pole with a 29.673. So we got Jared Kaler on your screen right now trying to set his laps. He waited sort of till mid-range in qualifying. They got 10 minutes to set a 3-lap qualifier. I think that was his first flyer. First flyer is going to put him down to 15th right now with a 29.8. Doubt that Jared would be too happy with that. You can see just how tight he's staying down there. Just gently opens up the steering wheel, allows that car to float up there to the top side line. 4-degree banking on the straight, so not nearly as aggressive as what we saw at Dover. Take that kind of high line in, a bit like a bobsled course for those Cool Runnings fans out there, and let it drift nice back out, and then take that short line over there to the finish line. So we'll see where this lap pops him in at. See if it was an improvement on his past lap, and it is. It's an improvement to pole position, bumping Christian Gomez down into second place. So good job picking that lap to watch, intern. We picked a good one there.
Jared Kaler was with us since the pilot season where he won on the roadside, bringing home the championship for UNC Charlotte, and he's really thrived here on the oval, so hard to bet against the 58 as well here tonight. If you guys at home are getting in on a little bit of this betting, see a lot of cheers for everybody. Some cheers for the 24, the 91, Jared and Austin. We see some FIU cheers. So be sure to tell us who you're rooting for in the chat, and we'll give them a quick shout-out here on the stream.
Yeah, come on, Jamaica. Yeah, no Jamaican University represented here. I think they could come up with a nice livery for a bobsled-themed car if they wanted to. But either way, we're about halfway through qualifying. We do have 2 new drivers into the field tonight, guys. We've got Mr. Campbell from Randolph out there, and then we've got Mr. Brungut as well from Lynchburg. So 2 drivers making their foray into the series and going to do their best to keep it on track tonight. Big field as well. I think I've got 36 or 36 or 37 cars on my monitor right now, so it's going to be a packed field, and it's going to be a tough one to learn on your first outing, but I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out just fine. So we mentioned it earlier, Jared Kaler had taken pole. Austin Farr has since pipped him by, I think just over a tenth, no, sorry, a hundredth of a second or so. So a 29.642 to a 29.661 are your first and second place. So Austin Farr in that Tennessee machine putting out on pole.
Yeah, I tell you what, you mentioned it. All these cars on track, over 30 cars, all under a blanket, especially in the top 10, the intervals being 100th, 300th, 700th, and back. Looks like Toomey, Munoz, and Campbell and Nordberg, those four drivers all sitting very, very close, separated by thousandths of a second. And so it's that slip of the wheel. It's, grabbing the apron just a little bit before you mean to. It's, getting a little bit close to the wall. That is what is going to determine your whether you're starting 5th or 10th or 15th when this race starts. And guys, we have seen that it's going to be a little bit difficult to pass. It's going to be tough to get your car to the bottom. And if you're not on the bottom, you're going to have to watch as maybe a couple cars slide by you, and you'll have to pick your spots, and it'll really be a story of who's there at the end. And I think that in addition to any of the physical driving work these guys are going to do, there's going to be a healthy side of mind games and strategy that comes into play for these guys.
One thing that you can be sure to not have mind games and strategy come into is using NextBookIt, the sponsor for the Collegiate iRacing League here in Season 2. They were with us for Season 1, so we'll hear from them and bring you right back to the starting grid here at Charlotte. So as you just saw right there, NextBookIt connects book lovers with each other to buy and sell textbooks, fiction, everything in between. Maybe an encyclopedia of racing if you really feel like it. For every account that is created with the code CIL2021, that's CIL 2021, NextBookIt is going to put $5 toward the CIL Scholarship Fund. So it's $5 that goes directly back to the drivers, whether it's needing a new car, needing a new track as we venture into some other uncharted territory here in the CIL. Maybe drivers need a little help there, and NextBookIt providing that assistance and giving us these huge car count fields. We got 33, 34, 35, 36 drivers on the scoring tower right now. So expect all those drivers to take the green flag, and big field, a lot of fans in the chat, and it's going to be a good one, guys.
Yeah, we're coming down to the end of it, and it's looking like Farr, Kaler, Gomez, Morse. Guys, FIU and Christian Gomez have been making a couple statements tonight in qualifying, at Dover in qualifying and in traffic, especially with not only driving but Dover's pit strategy, and then Daytona as well. So tell you what, I picked Alexander Clank, but I'm going to have my second eye on Mr. Gomez from Florida International University, looking to see what kind of speed's in that car. I wonder if he can bring something to those top two, Farr and Kaler, since they have enjoyed their time up there at the front.
Yeah, definitely. So pay attention to all those guys and more, really, here tonight as we get set to bring you the grid here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. And you see the cars lining up on that front straightaway, so let's run you on through. Austin Farr from the University of Tennessee taking pole here tonight, and right on his outside, a familiar name, Jared Kaler from UNC Charlotte. Christian Gomez from FIU rolls in third in qualifying. Henry Morse from UC Berkeley, saw a couple cheers for him, starting in fourth. Carl Lemkool, the first of year alumni, rolls off fifth here tonight. Jeff Pete from Minnesota Twin Cities will start sixth. Thomas Toomey from Virginia will roll off 7th. Esteban Munoz from FIU in 8th. Sean Campbell, a new name from Randolph Community College. He starts in 9th. Pay attention to him throughout the night. Matthew Nordberg from NC State rounding out the top 10. Alexander Klink from WPI. Josh is picked to win, starting off in 11th. And Prather Silverthorne will start the race in 12th. Continuing on down your grid, Jeremy Rogers from Texas A&M in 13th, Andrew McCull from Purdue in 14th, Derek Jennings from Grand Canyon University will start 15th, and Michael Koholich from Angelo State in 16th. Nick Trollman from Cal State Long Beach in 17th. Gage Anderson from UT Arlington in 18th. Ryan Fenty, another onboard drivers here tonight. We'll see him in a little bit from St. Joe's in New York, starting 19th, right in the middle of this large pack. Jerron Valley from Wisconsin Oshkosh in 20th. Nathan Brungett will roll off 21st. Parker Eaton in 22nd. Peter Stother staying up late from Harriet Watt University in 23rd. And Yuri Ismail from the University of Reading will start in 24th. Rounding out your starting grid here, Scott Ratliff from Pittsburgh State, Alejandro Diaz from UC Berkeley, John Tyndall, VCU, Downtown Kenny Brown from Virginia, Alex Jensen from Embry-Riddle, Nathan Kuhl from Bemidji State, Cooper Glick from GCU, Max Bowie from USC, James Blouch from Chico State, Derek Ekmanis, San Diego State, Colby Sherwood, The Ohio State University, and Mitchell Robinson rounding out your field. He's from Texas A&M.
I gotta say, one of the surprises in that field for me is going to be number 112, the A&M machine driven by Jeremy Rogers. We normally see him up at the front of that alumni pack. Not so tonight. He's got quite a few cars between him and the front that he's going to try to work his way through. Also with that, Michael Kaholich, we were talking about him before the race in that Angelo State machine, starting down there in 16th. So keep your eyes on those two guys throughout the night. They'll be making some moves.
Yeah, and I'm going to be watching a couple of these guys. We see Jeff Pete up there as well as UC Berkeley. We've seen a lot of pace in that 44 machine, so we'll see what Henry Morse can do as we get underway here. Only one pace lap, and so guys, bring it to us as the pace car pulls off for lap 1.
Austin Farr from the University of Tennessee. Down in that low groove, Jared Kaler on his outside, and you see that FIU machine looking onward in that Ford Mustang. Austin Farr ready to fire on off. It will be on the green flag here on this first start. Every other restart in the leader's control. And here goes the field 2x2 down the front straightaway.
And they've agreed thus far to get down 2x2. They'll get down into turn 1. Not going to be too loose yet, but these cars being so close together in the pack will have some aerodynamic effects. We see University of Minnesota up high. In fact, he's fallen back a little bit, holding up Carl Lemkool. You see Tennessee out to a lead, Kaler, then Gomez. Looks like Minnesota has slotted in line. FIU second entrant, Esteban Munoz, right in there. Looks like NC State. And Jeff Pete, that's Jeff Pete on the wall from the University of Minnesota, and several cars involved. Also GCU, Derek Jennings in the 15 machine. Prather Silverthorne, and guys, a little extra action on lap 1 there as Jeff Pete just got loose, and we're going to have to see that again to understand just how we got out of line.
It looked just kind of like he snapped there on the exit. So he's loose now, and then it snapped back the other way. So he got loose before he kind of got up to the straight section of that wall, and just kind of had a small snap of correction and didn't quite work, and that was the result of it. So collected a few cars in that C. We'll have to check in and see. Jeff Pete was starting, I'm not entirely sure where. Jeff Pete was starting 6th, though. He was a fair ways up the pack, so would have been a whole lot of cars that would have had to avoid that instance. So that looks like the number 9 machine he got involved with there. That might have been Sean Campbell as well that I saw. It's hard to tell sometimes. But, yeah, quite a few cars involved in that unfortunate incident.
Yeah, and that was almost ironically well held from the 119 car. But yeah, just got to the end and got off that transition there where you go from the banking to the tri-oval and you never really get to straighten it out. So that's a tough one to straighten out there for Pete. It looks like he will go back. These guys will have one faster pair, maybe a little bit earlier than some of these drivers wanted to use it. But John, you'll be happy to say again, it's going to be restarts for Austin Farr in the 79 machine.
Yeah, man, he is killer at the restarts. I would not want to be Jared Kaler in this instance. He's so hard to match off the restart. He's going to nail it every single time. And, I wonder if this is going to start to factor into some of Austin Farr's strategy. We've seen it at Daytona. He didn't even take a single pit stop that entire race, did the entire race on one tank of fuel, one set of tires, and was able to bring it home in the end as well there. And he managed that strategy pretty well. If we continue on with this night with a lot of cautions, which we're not hoping for, but it can happen in a race like this, I'm sure he'll be considering that as an option in a strategy, and maybe try to avoid those green flag pit stops, as I'm sure everybody else in the field would like to do as well.
Yeah, and it's hard when you come out of qualifying and you have the track to yourself and you have warm tires. You'll have a lot of grip in the car, so Pete there from Minnesota probably Forgetting that he was on lap 1 there of the race in dirty air, and you saw just a little bit less downforce to that Minnesota machine. So we'll get closer here. It'll be 1 to go this time by, and then we'll see the green flag. Doesn't look like too many drivers taking the chance to get full service. No reason to this early in the race. They only have 2 tire sets to go, and I can't imagine they've burned their first gallon of fuel.
Yeah, certainly not. But in terms of the tire wear specifically, it's about 10 laps before you get that 1 second loss, and then it starts to stabilize at about 15 laps down or so. So that ultimate pace, these guys are probably going to run right here on the restart, not taking too much life out of their tires traveling around behind the pace car like this. So maybe about 2 laps after that restart, we'll probably see a couple 29.6s, maybe a 29.7 or two. And then everybody else is going to drop about a tenth of a second or lap or so for the next 10 laps after that, and then really settle into a rhythm. So this is where we can see a lot of alternate tire strategies play out throughout the race. Maybe a guy in the back takes those new tire sets early on and tries to make his way up through the field. He'll have no problem doing that if the cars in front of him are on a different strategy.
Yeah, you said it. So we'll come through here, and it'll be Austin Farr will be the control car. He'll wait until the Geico restart zone to let these guys go. Looking back, my pick, Alexander Klenk there in the yellow machine, sitting on about the 4th row. Looking like the 5th row, actually going to start in 9th position there on the inside. So a couple of these guys, you see Gomez and Morse, the top 4 cars, all stayed in front of that fiasco. So coming to the green now, these guys are going to figure out their strategy, and they're taking notes there because when they get to the end of the race, they have a final restart. They want to know what the other's going to do.
Green.
Austin Farr into that Geico restart zone. He's going to lead the field. Pretty good jump right there. Looks like Kayla going to try and slide on in, and he'll get the door shut from Christian Gomez. He's got that bumper underneath him. Not just yet. They go single file through the top 3.
Yeah. For the whole. Sorry, go ahead there, Josh.
Morris working through there. You see 30 machine of Sean Campbell sliding through there, and Matthew Nordberg having to give a little bit away. You see Jeremy Rogers and that Texas A&M machine looking good, trying to follow Clank through this mess. Nordberg now to the bottom. Carl Lemkool working up the high line. He's going to make a diamond out of it. Come off. I think he might have scared his fellow drivers to the inside there. They had a little move down. Everybody a little bit gun shy after that lap 1 incident, but we're all getting a little bit closer to single file. You see Angelo State University there. Michael Kaholich in the number 4 machine, trying to hold up his fellow Texan behind him. Still a little bit of trouble, as I believe that is still Carl Lemkool from St. Louis University trying to get his land legs underneath him. And you see the 018, that is Andrew McCall from the University of Purdue, the Boilermaker, looking and trying to get behind the Texas A&M machine. He knows the low line is the place to be, and he's going to try and see if he can slide by Carl Lemkool, and he will do so. A little bit of a slide job and a little bit of a side draft from Lemkool, but it won't be enough. And now California State Long Beach looks to fill that same gap.
Yeah, Lemkool kind of getting stuck in that high line there, is not able to work for him. We've got the 000 machine, Nick Trollman, trying to come around the low side right now. Lemkool's going to get it done. I saw another car up front. I want to say it was Christian Gomez, getting a little bit wide going into turn 1 at one point and lost a bit of ground to Henry Morse. He has since recovered and is back up onto the bumper of Jared Kaler up there at the front. So we're riding on board, I think, with Nick Trollman right now, trying to chase down this pack in front of him. That's including Jeremy Rogers, Andrew McCall, and those are the 2 alumni drivers that he's trying to fight against. So he's got to get up underneath those guys. As we see Michael Kaholich go down low on the WPI machine. That's going to be Alexander Klenk in the 37. I saw Klenk get involved with Sean Campbell there pretty earlier. Campbell, first race in, running up there in 6th, 3 positions up right now, doing a great job tonight. A couple of other guys in a pretty close battle right there. That's going to be including Thomas Toomey, the 66 for Virginia State. So we're watching Michael Kaholich trying to fend off the WPI machine. We've got a second caution. We'll look to see where that came out.
Yeah, it's too bad while we pull that up. That was some solid racing, and hard to pick a winner on that one. Looks like the 3 machine. I see Mitch Robinson come out of the corner. I see Sparks. Looks like Kenny Brown, Mitch Robinson, and the 17 machine. That is Yuri Ismail from the University of Reading from the United Kingdom. And those 3 getting together. It looks like maybe the 3 car. He had a little bit of help, I think. Just got a touch loose and then nowhere to go. Yeah, that's so hard, guys, in the tri-oval. And James Blausch from Chico State getting a piece of the action as well. And yeah, it's tough to avoid that one. But guys, when you're coming onto the tri-oval, it's not like when you're at Martinsville or Homestead. There's a lot of transition and transient motion that the car has to go through. Yeah, know where to go through. This is on board with James Blausch and really know where to go there, especially when these cars, guys, are jumping off the wall so quickly. There's a lot of energy being dispersed out there.
I think that might be twice that we've seen Kenny Brown do his best Joey Logano impression, flying through the air upside down like that. Gonna try to keep track of that. Hope that doesn't happen too much to him throughout the rest of the season. But so far, it's a bit of a trend. So up front again, it's still Austin Farr and Jared Kaler up there. The top 4 cars have not changed position yet this race. 11 laps in. Thomas Toomey has moved up a couple positions, is now in 5th after starting 7th. Has also towed Sean D. Campbell up there as well. Sean D. Campbell sitting there in 6th. So Matthew Nordberg, a podium sitter last time out at Dover, is sitting there in 10th. He's lost a few positions right now. He's got a fast mover behind him in Michael Kaholich. We called him out earlier, was saying, look at that guy. He's going to be starting out there at the back of the grid. Well, not quite the back, 16th or so. He's moved up to 8th, so he's halfway to his ultimate target of sitting there where Austin Farr is at the moment. So Jarrett, we're 11 laps in, a couple cautions so far. Are these guys going to start thinking about that alternate strategy at this point, or when does that start to happen?
I mean, at this point, we've seen 2 quick cautions. We're 11, 12, will be 13, maybe 14 laps in once we start to go green. And you talked about it. Last week, guys were able to go the entire distance by saving fuel onto these caution laps. Maybe it's in the back of your head with such a large field and guys mixing it up toward the back half of the field. Maybe that starts to come into mind. And if you're Austin Farr, you got to do everything you can to stay in the lead. But we will see as these laps progress.
Yeah, and on your screen right there, you see the number 20 machine. That's Colby Sherwood from Ohio State University. Some things are bigger than racing. Colby just graduated with his computer science and engineering degree from the Ohio State University. So a couple of these drivers, we're going to try to ping them throughout the night and let you know that they are going pro in something other than sports.
And Colby Sherwood having a good night for himself so far as well. Started there towards the back of the grid. Don't think he was able to set a qualifying lap, but he has moved up 10 positions, sitting in 25th. Bit of a benefactor from those earlier incidents involving Kenny Brown and Mitchell Robinson and such. But doing well so far tonight. We'll see where he ends up.
So let's check in with a couple of our onboard drivers here. Ryan Fenty, you see him in the St. Joseph's College machine. He's climbed all the way up to 14th, kind of in that middle of the pack. And at this point, guys, does middle of the pack maybe scare you a little bit? You're seeing all these incidents and you kind of want to maybe make your way to the front and stay out of it. So it'll be curious to see how these guys navigate that middle of the pack area. Do you drop back? Do you move forward? Keeping in mind, you do have that one fast repair for a lot of the drivers. But a lot of the drivers already used it, as we saw that big incident there early.
Yeah, for me, I don't think you can plan on having to use that fast repair. You got to stick to the low line, as what we've seen from Carl Lemkel, really getting shuffled back there quite a few positions. So it looks like the low line's really the only place you can be. If you go anywhere else, you're guaranteed to lose positions. And for me, track position is everything on this race. If I'm going to be anywhere, it's going to be where Austin Farr is sitting up front. That's the best place you can be, no matter what the condition is, no matter what age your tires are. I always want that track position. So it's a bit of a balancing act sometimes, but at this track, given that it's kind of a single line effort right now, at least where this where the tires are at in their stages of wear, I'm going for that low line, trying to hold my position, if not overtake a few cars in front of me. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to get a little bit on the start, but feels a little bit like a super speedway race. Maybe with so much time left, do I want to get out of the eye of the storm? And it's tough because we saw that, if there's calamity at the front, it doesn't take long to get all the way back. So I'll tell you what, if I'm in the middle, yeah, I'm trying to go forward. And, I don't know that it's long enough to race scared, so to speak. But certainly be on your toes and be ready to crank that thing down to the apron, to the grass if needed, because grab track will be better than taking it behind the pit wall this evening.
So all the cars locked and loaded for this third restart of the day after our second yellow flag. And we should have a good one. Austin Farr going to lead the field to the green flag once again. Jared Kaler on his outside. That top four has not changed. Henry Morris and Christian Gomez making up row number 2. You see Thomas Toomey lurking back there in 5th. We'll see if that Virginia machine can maybe make his way into the top 3. Austin Farr going to lead us to the green flag. Kaler really trying to jump that start. Farr waiting up all the way until the green flag, and he's going to get a great push from the 65 as they're going to try and make it 2x2 and it turns 1 and 2.
At the position. Yeah, big tire splitter right from the 58. Yes, sir. And down into turn 1, he's going to try not to end up 4th going into turn 3. But Farr got it, and so did FIU. Christian Gomez. We see a couple cars really close to that wall, guys. It's tough. They got to get the tires warm before they can do that. 2x2 now, and Jared Kaler, it looks like he's going to come back. He side draft a little bit. Ooh. Thomas Toomey with a little touch there to the 30. It'll be held on to as everybody swarms to protect themselves going through the tri-oval. Not a lot of room to do that, and maybe just a little bit tight there, guys. And Nick Trollman was not involved in that, but going to give his thoughts nonetheless.
Yeah, Toomey going to door with the WPI machine. Alexander Klenk defending that position pretty strong there. Yeah, Campbell getting shuffled back there. A little bit of a tap at the rear end. It was enough to send him back to, I think, 11th or 12th he's sitting in right now, tucking in behind that rear bumper there, trying to get back in on the action and try to take the battle back to these guys. 2x2 still as we cross the finish line. Alexander Klenk holding on to that top line, trying to get back and get that draft from Thomas Toomey. Try to help him out going into turns 1 and 2. Nothing doing. Michael Koholich down there on the low line. That's where you want to be. He's going to be able to steal that draft and steal that position away from Klenk coming onto the back straight here. Still, the door. It looks like they're getting pretty good side drafts off the exit of the corner, which is really helping for Klenk to kind of recover some of that ground lost on the corner entry phase.
Yeah, Klenk, one of our main road drivers, but I think he's starting to figure out this oval side as we go and focus in on the 69 and the 30 machine there. Looks like that is Andrew McCall in the 018 machine trying to get around the Texas A&M Aggies. The 078 car, that is Derek McManus, with a little bit of damage to the front end of that car. We will have to follow in, and yeah, right there, not what you want to see there if you are a driver or a race fan.
Yeah, it looks like Max Bui involved in that as well, not through any fault of his own. I think the 078 car got up high into the wall first. We'll have to watch that one back again and see. So 078's already across the grass at that point. So he's had an earlier instant already in the lap, maybe exiting turn 4 somewhere, and then collected a few cars on his way to recovery there. Bit unfortunate there for Derek Ekmanis, a couple other cars involved. So we'll look here and see the number 64 car gets involved. Derek Ekmanis, kind of a simple bystander in that instance. It was really the 64 machine that kicked that whole sequence off. 64 machine going to be driven by our newcomer Nathan Brungut from Lynchburg. So yeah, a bit of a strange one. What'd you see there, Josh?
Well, I saw on a second monitor there that yeah, the 64 machine just got up a couple inches, enough to cover that quarter panel. And so when you do that, it's really hard to turn left when there's another car that's trying to turn you right. Even if it's not their intent, the car is still there. So yeah, once and I've done it as well, get up a little bit high, and then both cars end up going into the wall. So from there, we saw what happened. But yeah, it's tough when you're trying to side draft and you're the car on the outside. You don't want to give up that position. So drivers having to figure out if they want to fight on lap 19 of the 75 lap race and how they want to do that.
So joining us now up here in the booth is John Tyndall from VCU. John, you got a copy?
I sure do. What's going on, guys?
So it looks like a wild one down on track. Take us through what it's like down there.
Well, the restarts have been pretty crazy. There's been a little checking up going on, so it's really tough to gauge exactly when to go and all that good stuff. But we're just trying to figure out our pit strategy. I've got a little bit of damage on the front and the rear, but luckily kind of picking my way through some of these cautions here. It's like a small super speedway here, so it's close racing. It's a lot of speed and just trying to get through all the bad stuff tonight, to be honest.
So you're up 11 positions so far from your starting spot in 27. So what's been your strategy so far? Are you trying to give guys a little bit more space than you might do later in the race?
I'm going to go back and say just trying to avoid the bad stuff, honestly, and that's really my main goal. And rule number 1: don't mess up.
Well, looks like so far you're off to a solid start. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go green?
Well, I've got my buddies Chase and Jason, hopefully still tuned in, and appreciate them watching, and all of J2I, my racing league. Hopefully some of them are tuned in too. So we'll see what happens tonight. Appreciate you guys broadcasting.
All right. Well, good luck the rest of the way there, John.
Thank you very much.
There's John Tyndall from VCU. You see him on your screen right there. One of our in-car camera drivers tonight. You
on
see
stream?
Ram
No.
this on his rear quarter panel. Looks like someone has tempted fate and done exactly that. We'll
What
see
my
if the
strategy
28
was, and I
machine
said,
can,
just don't mess
survive
up.
that little damage.
Yeah, I think you are correct. Always dangerous to put that on your car. And seeing Tyndall as well in the chat, so I think he'll be pleased to see he does have a little fan club here. Lights still on the pace car, so guys, we're 20 laps into this one now. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing. A lot of yellow flags. I did not bank on that here on this track. I thought we might have a little bit calmer, mile-and-a-half race and get sorted out. But if it is, John, how does your strategy change?
Yeah, well, you just kind of have to take those punches as they come and really roll with them. It's going to be a bit of a struggle if we keep seeing stuff like this happen. You're calling it right now. It feels like more like a half mile, like a 3/4 mile track with the amount of yellows we've seen. Only 20 laps in on our third one already. So yeah, strategy, they're going to have to adapt. If we keep having yellows like this, if there's another one, maybe another 6 or 7 laps after this green flag restart, then I'm probably going to commit to a long strategy and just stay out there as long as I can and try to take advantage of just staying on track and maintaining track position. If it goes green for much longer than that, then I'll probably start to re-wicker my strategy again and start considering a green flag pit stop maybe as an option. Maybe about halfway from here to the end of the race, maybe around lap 50 or so. So the tire wear, once you bottom out, it'll kind of maintain that level for a while, about 2 seconds off the ultimate pace, and it'll sit there for a good 50 laps or so. So it's not like they reach the ultimate cliff as the tires used to do back in like Formula 1 in the 2010-2011 region, where drivers would hit that cliff and the lap time would drop off 5-10 seconds a lap or so. Not so much of an issue here. But still, you got to re-wicker that strategy depending on what happens with the yellows in this following laps here.
Yeah, and I think if one of these drivers felt that we could go green from this point on, they could come to pit road. We haven't had any takers up to this point, save a few fast repairs. And if you were to go green, you'd be looking really good in case they went to the end and everybody else had to pit, especially with these yellow flags being able to save that fuel. So a couple strategies, but everybody in the same boat for the most part. And I think that we are going to have some more green flag action in about 200 yards.
So Austin Farr going to lead us to the green flag once again, almost sounding like a broken record. Christian Gomez snuck up into the second spot. You see a little tire spin right there as Jeremy Rogers trying to get a good jump. And that 58, a great jump right there, all over the back bumper of Austin Farr. And they're off, heading into turn one.
Yeah, a little bit slip further on in the pack, driving into turn one. Looks like everybody able to keep it the same direction for now. Jeremy Rogers settled in ninth after that slip. And he is trying now, actually we're on board with Matthew Norberg, NC State, trying to chase down UC Berkeley and FIU. Kind of a roadblock right now, nowhere to go. He knows the low spot is the place to be, but looks like it's going to be advantage to the top. We're going to see the high side start to come in as we get these cars warmed up. You're able to keep your momentum up there, keep your revs higher, stay in that power band that these NASCAR engines are going to give you. And so we're going to see a little bit of advantage. That's like 69 machine actually just grabbing a little bit extra of that apron and going to hold up VCU in the process. VCU going to try to look high, but the 69 going to close that door. You see Peter Stother, Harriet Watt University, going low early into the corner, trying to fend off Wisconsin at Oshkosh. And again, we see that through the tri-oval, it's going to be the advantage number one machine. Going down into turn one, squarely ahead. Stother will tuck into line. He's going to take some notes now. He's going to try that middle groove.
Yeah, that middle groove starting to come into its own as these tires wear a little bit faster into this race. So if we're going to file out single file going into turn three back here up front, it's still Austin Farr and Jared Kaler 1, 2, and 3 to Gomez back there. Now we got John Tyndall, I think, getting involved there. The 28 VCU machine, pretty loose, coming off of turn 4, able to get it gathered up and out of the way of the Pitt State machine. VCU having a bit of a struggle. Might have been a small tap there on the front end, just enough to kind of upset it. But a nice recovery there. He's going to slot back in line and try to regain those spots. So John Tyndall off for the worst on that occasion right there. We've got a car down low, letting everybody go past on the back stretch here, but everybody's going to make their way past nice and safely. So the 28 machine up next to Scott Ratliff and Jeff Pete in terms of laps already. And Prather Silverthorne, the 198 car for the Colorado School of Mines, also out there representing well.
Yeah, Prather Silverthorne making his third of 3 races, so a pretty common staple among these races, always doing a good job for the Colorado School of Mines. You might have heard the name Corey Hyatt on the roadside from the same university. So riding along now, we're going to see Alexander Clank, WPI, chasing down the University of Virginia. That is for the 7th position. But the 30 machine wants a little bit in, and so does 112. That's going to be Texas A&M. University of Randolph, that is the 30 machine there. And then Thomas Toomey, guys, has his mirror full. I'll tell you what, Alexander Clank trying to make that high side work. He's saving his tires a little bit. Probably trying to get the most out of them up there, so I'm not sure how much he's saving, but he's still going to work on that 66 machine. Now he's going to go low and make him really think about it, guys. He's using the whole track.
Yeah, using the whole track indeed. A lot of feisty driving coming out of that number 37 car, trying to defend pretty aggressively with only 20 laps under his belt so far. But he's been able to maintain a pretty clean race car so far, not really getting involved in any of these instances. We see him picking up a little bit of understeer mid-corner and to corner exit, so he might be pushing those front tires pretty hard compared to some of the other cars around him. And with a guy like Jeremy Rogers right behind you in that 112 machine, he'll be having his mirrors full all night long if it stays like that. So this is Michael Kaholich fighting on Henry Morse up there. Michael Kaholich up to 5th after starting in 16th, so 11 spots moved up. That's the most that I've got on my monitor right now, at least this far up in the field. So ASU trying to make a move on the number 44 machine. Going to tuck right in there. You can see the car from this back bumper, the Berkeley Formula Racing team out on the back bumper of Morse's car here. And pretty tight line going down into turn 3. Going to try to get all the way down the apron. Michael able to do it. Henry Morse not quite so. We've got a 3 or 5 car battle back there still, and the A&M machine still tucked in underneath the WPI machine's bumper. Sean Campbell back there as well underneath the A&M car's bumper. 5 cars on the line heading into turn 1.
Yeah, this group racing hard as they are, but have still caught Matthew Nordberg, that NC State machine, and it looks like now 37 going to try and get a little side draft. He's seen the guys do it. And going into turn 3, he'll be up alongside. He's got a door. He's got a nose. He's going to give just about no inch, and he is right there. But, man, I had to hold on for that one. But it is the 66 across the line in this position. This time, we'll see what happens on the exit of turn 2.
Yes, these guys continue to battle, though. They're losing time to that leading group up front. We're seeing some pretty big gaps in the traffic stretch out here. Looking from Gomez back to Kaholich, 2.2 seconds behind is Kaholich, and then from Morse back to Norberg is another 1.5 seconds or so. So these big 3, 5, 6 car battles are really stretching out this field quite a bit. That's probably good in terms of strategy for guys that were banking on that green flag running from here to the end of the race. We saw 3 cars getting wide there out of turn 4. A bit of a battle going on. I think that's Esteban Munoz in the center of your screen there, the red car just in front. And guys are still battling going down into turn 1, still too wide. 095, St. Louis there on the bottom, taking that tight line on exit. That's going to wear the tires a little bit faster than if you're a bit more gentle with them. So we're going to see those cars start to struggle a little bit more, and he can't quite maintain that pace off of turn 4 there, Josh.
Yeah, and I've been following this one, and we talked about, Valley as well as Munoz. Those guys have been going 3 wide. You see a 64 machine there, as well as Lemcool. They've been going 3 wide about once a lap every chance they get, and really trying to test the size of those cars. But they made it work thus far. And you see there a little bit slow there for the University of Wisconsin at Oshkosh. Wonder if he felt like he had to get out of it or got a little bit arrow tight there in that situation. But nonetheless, he will give up 1 position and then 1 more to Grand Canyon University. We're going to follow back on board with Austin Farr, University of Tennessee, out to a comfortable half-second gap over UNC Charlotte's Jared Kaler. And then, guys, we talked about him, Christian Gomez from FIU following in, and Michael Kaholich has escaped and made his way out of that hefty battle, and is now finally in some clean air, trying to get some downforce across the nose of that Ford Mustang, guys. And Angelo State University taking a little bit out of the lead, a little bit out of that gap to P3 each lap.
Yeah, so sitting about 2 seconds right now is that gap, so I'll have to keep an eye on that as these laps wear down. I'm riding on board with Austin Farr, and guys, I just got to say, I'm amazed at how smooth he is with all of his inputs. No jerky movements going on with the steering. Ultra smooth the entire time. He's a master of not only saving tires, but managing an entire race across all 75 laps. We've seen him do it a number of times, especially last season, just how commanding he was on all the restarts, and some of his wins were by quite a distance of margin in terms of car length to the car behind in second. So he's putting that to the test here again tonight. Jared Kaler, a bit more aggressive with the steering input, trying to get down into turn one. Probably going to take a little bit more life out of his tires than Farr trying to do that sort of strategy.
Yeah, it's tough to make those tires work, especially when you have all these cars around you. Everybody's fighting for position. It's quite hard to save tires, especially when your competitors are not thinking about it. A little bit of a block there from UC Berkeley on USC. I'm sorry, that is Pittsburgh State University. That is the 747 machine of Scott Ratliff, trying to work along, get a little side draft along the outside there. That 69 machine, that's Henry Morse. Or sorry, that is Luis Diaz, Alejandro Diaz from UC Berkeley. You see Ryan Fenty and then Jeff Pete from the University of Minnesota behind those guys. And working down the backstretch again, everybody's kind of single file, but will poking out kind of late, and they're looking to get to the bottom. And if you don't show your move too early, you can make it happen. Guys, I'm noticing that 66 machine had the pace, but he's fallen off just a little bit.
Yeah, falling off quite a bit. We're at about that mark where the 2 second gap, actually, we see a bit of a touch there with the 66 machine, able to recover just fine and try to slot back in behind. But, you know, we're talking about that tire degradation over the course of the run earlier on. We mentioned we might see a couple 29.6s, maybe a 29.7. Up front, Austin Farr did a 29.7 on lap 6, and now we're into the 31.6s. So we're in that region where the tires have kind of settled in to their ultimate final pace, and that's about 2 seconds off the ultimate pace. So we'll see how long it goes green here. These guys will probably not be able to make it to the end on this bit of fuel. So this is going to be Jared Kaler up top here on the FIU machine 65, Esteban Munoz. Munoz sliding in below. Jared Kaler tucking right in there, trying to get that side draft action coming out of turn 2. Doesn't quite get the exit off the corner, it looks like, and slots back in behind the Florida machine going into turn 3.
Yeah, it looked like he actually thought about fighting a little bit more. Could have gone down into turn 3, but maybe taking this opportunity to save those tires just a little bit as we have crossed the halfway point in this one. And then, yeah, he'll want to make sure. And he'll have an opportunity to save a little bit of fuel if he can stay in the draft. But I actually see the Angelo State car closing. So maybe Jared Kaler ready for that next set of tires.
Yeah, Jarrett, we're about halfway through this race. We're actually just past the halfway point, so we might be getting into that range for green flag pit stops. Which car do you think is going to make those first calls? Is it going to be somebody at the back of the field, or maybe somebody like Austin Farr, Christian Gomez, going to try to duke everybody into coming into the pits with them?
I definitely would say guys further on back in the pack, guys who have a little bit less to lose. If Austin Farr goes in, everyone stays out, and we get a yellow. Now he's got a long way back up through the field. As you see further on back, maybe just hold on out and expect a yellow with these packs that we're starting to see as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see maybe 1 or 2 guys down pit road, but don't expect a very busy pit lane for still quite a few laps.
Yeah, I concur. It's always hard to break out a line. And you usually don't see it from the leader. You usually try and see it from somebody in that P5 to P10 range who is trying to make a few positions and might not have the car or the tires currently to make that all up on time. So actually you see there Angelo State will move past, it looks like, coming to the tri-oval, the 58 machine of Jared Kaler.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Kaler's really starting to suffer from that tire wear worse than some of the other cars. We mentioned his driving style earlier, a little bit more aggressive on the corner entry, not as kind to the front tires. He may be paying for that now because this is a podium position that he's fighting for with Michael Koholich from Angelo State. And you see Gomez is already almost a second and a half or so up the road, and I don't think he made that pass but 3 or 4 laps ago on Kaler. So it's been a bit of a gap stretched out already. Gomez trying to hunt down Austin Farr. I think the gap between first and second earlier was about 2 seconds, and now that's down underneath 2 seconds at this point and kind of stabilized there at that 1.9 points. So the battle up front is still not totally decided. It looks like Kaholich is having a great sort of second life to these tires as we pass the halfway point in this race, with UNC State trying to hustle them down. First taker for the pit stop, that's going to be John Tyndall, VCU. Going to try to get that alternate strategy, maybe see if anybody follows him down in here. It looks like he might have been missing his hood on my screen. I couldn't quite tell there if that was just a little bit of iRacing graphic or what going on there. But we've got the A&M machine, and I think that's Ryan Fenty going at it into turn 1.
Yeah, guys, and a couple other takers on pit lane as well just prior. A lot of guys in the back of the pack. Nick Trollman, Derek Jennings, Esteban Munoz, and also the 66 of Thomas Toomey coming down pit lane. So those drivers may be trying to do that alternate strategy that John's talking about. Josh?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now that the first one is in, we'll start to see those drivers trickle in and take those tires. Maybe fuel, depending on how they go, just a little splash and go. Don't want to put too much weight in the car, but putting a full tank of fuel in will help that car. If you are a bit loose, it will help put some force on those rear tires. So those guys being able to make it work. We'll see what strategies play out. I do think that the leaders will be the last to come. Jarrett, you mentioned they had the most to lose. I say that, though, we might be seeing Gomez coming down. In fact, it looks like Kaholich and Gomez will make their way to pit road. And so leaders on pit road now.
Yeah, a bit of a risky pit entrance, I think. There's a couple guys talking beforehand. If you need to get down before turn 3 and onto the apron, or if you can do it off of turn 4. Saw a bit of tire smoke as we entered the pit lane there. I'm wondering if that was from the 65 machine, the Florida International machine driven by Christian Gomez. And the guys trying to carry all the speed they can down into the pit lane. It's going to cost them a little bit if they do it too much, because you'll get that speeding pit lane penalty and then have to come by again, which will hurt you and really ruin your chances at a clean race. But we see our leader, Austin Farr, come down in the pit lane now. We see another big lockup behind him. A couple cars really trying to get on the brakes in the pit lane, having a bit of a lockup. You might want to crank a bit of forward brake bias in and make sure your car doesn't spin on the entry there. But it looks like Michael Kaholich is in. I've got a Minnesota machine back there. That's got to be Jeff Peter Stother in as well.
Exactly, and temporarily your leader is UC Berkeley's Henry Morris. We've seen him up front. He stayed out to pick up a lap. He's done so, and now he'll make his way to pit road. And going ahead, it looks like Campbell, it looks like Alexander Clank will currently be scored from WPI as your leader temporarily. So, guys, we're cycling through pit stops. Everybody coming down for 4 tires. Going to probably pick up that faster pair if they haven't. And after this, a lot of those guys will still have 1 set of tires left. Should we need them at the end. You see Farr right there joining up with Clank. Don't know if Clank has made it in yet, but Farr we expect to be your leader once everything cycles out here.
Yeah, Clank has not come down pit lane, guys.
Yeah, I didn't think so. He's a little bit too far alongside Farr for that one to make too much sense. So yeah, we probably did about 30 to 40 laps on that other set at speed. I think we had 3 or 4 cautions and probably 3 laps of caution or so, I'm thinking. So it's probably about 30 to 35 laps, if anything, at speed on that other set of tires. And we got 25 laps left in this race. I think guys can stay out the rest of the time if we don't have any more cautions. I don't know if it would be worth coming back in if there is a caution. I think if you had about 15 to go, it might be worth it if some guys go for that alternate strategy. Probably not if you're leading the field, but definitely further on back.
Yeah, and amidst this cycle, we're starting to see some new names that we've also seen in chat. Derek McManus, San Diego State University. Going down, we've got Gage Anderson in that 91 machine from the University of Texas at Arlington. We've talked about USC's Max Bowie and Carl Lemkuhl as well from St. Louis University. Notable to say that Max Bowie has completed his master's from the University of Southern California. And guys, another graduate here in CIL.
Yeah, getting involved in a little bit of a battle going on here. We got the number 45 machine walking up the inside. That's going to be Alex Jensen, Embry-Riddle University. Cars going into turn 2 right here, I think it was. And then a couple other cars getting involved here. That looks like a Pit State machine maybe in there as well. 747 car. A couple cars up there wide. I got a car up wide off the wall in turn 3. Looks like he got it underneath control. and was able to maintain control coming on the backstretch. So no yellow popping out. I'm sure everybody likes to see that. Alexander Klenk on my screen just now coming down into pit lane, and so we'll see where he filters back on out after this strategy works out for him. Derek Ekmanis will inherit the lead for the time being, but he's up high, going to let a whole slew of cars go by. You just see the tire differential right there, right on display. The 078 machine on old tires cannot compete with these cars on tires that are just about 5 laps old at this point.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we did see a couple of those guys. We saw Henry Morrison at 44 machine with those new tires as we will ride on board to pit lane. You see just how fast it is, how difficult it is to get off that banking, make the transition onto pit road, all while in full braking force as you see Clank coming off. But yeah, if you have fresh tires, you're going to get held up behind this group. You see right there, UT Arlington probably expecting this car to come into pit. That's why he's letting these guys by, so he doesn't hold them up. So Blaze the Horse might be coming in for service at the end of turn 4, but these guys continue to race. I say that, but it looks like the 91 machine will not pull into pit road this time, so maybe he's just conserving his race car.
Yeah, maybe something that some of our fans haven't quite considered is that these cars are set up to work in the banking where you've got 24 degrees of camber help with the turn. It doesn't quite work that way when you're coming down onto the apron entering pit lane. The car's balance is suddenly no longer what it felt like on that inclined portion of the racetrack. The cars have a tendency to get really loose and really sketchy when you hit that flat part of the apron and into pit lane. So when you're on the brakes transferring all that load to the front end, really easy to get the car crossed up. We finally see the 91 make its way down into pit lane for UT Arlington. We'll see where he filters out after this stop. Looks like a pretty clean entry there for pit lane. So a good demonstration of what you should be doing, but we've seen quite a few cars lock up getting into pit lane, just trying to carry all of that speed. Of course, any time spent on the racetrack is counting towards your race time, so you want to carry all of the speed you can into the pit lane. But I believe the pit lane speed, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, is 45, so you got to get it under that speed before you enter.
That is correct. It is a tough one. I'll tell you right now, a battle for the lead, Gomez and Farr. Gomez did cycle out to the beginning, whether he took less fuel or got a better exit, but it looks like he's just been passed by Austin Farr. Let's see if Farr has been able to conserve those tires. Yeah, you see down the backstretch, Farr was able to put that Tennessee machine to the inside, and not much of a fight there from the 65 machine. He knows there's about 20 laps left in this race, and best to be there at the end. So you see these guys trying to make it work. Looks like Austin Farr now will cycle out to be your leader. He'll try to get around University of Lynchburg's Nathan Brungett, I believe. And yeah, followed there by St. Louis University's Carl Lemkuhl. So a little bit of traffic for the 65 machine of Gomez to work through, but guys, Austin Farr clear sailing ahead, save one lapped car.
Yeah, I think Austin Farr was very happy to get those two cars between him and the 65 Florida International University machine. That's going to help his cause out pretty well. We'll see if Gomez does get stuck behind those lap traffic back there, including Carl Lemkuhl and the 64 machine. But so far, so good for him. Farr stretching about a half-second lead. We've got 6 seconds back to Kaholich. That's a pretty big gap between second and third. And then another 6-second gap from Kaholich to Kaler. So it looks like this battle up here at the front is one of the closest in the field right now, especially when we get up towards the north end of the podium positions. And so this is Jared Kaler getting hunted down by Toomey and Morse and Nordberg right now. Rogers getting up there as well. Rogers has finally reclaimed the first place spot for the alumni in this battle. I think Scott Ratliff was having a pretty good run for a while, but he's since dropped back and is now running in third in the alumni group.
Yeah, and these guys are going to have a little bit of a battle to go through. You see Grand Canyon University getting followed by Embry-Riddle University, and it looks like Harriet Watt University. It's Peter Stother behind these guys, stalking these guys. It looks like Grand Canyon University maybe a little bit loose out of turn 4, and Peter Stother are going to try with a little push, and it's going to help. But yeah, we have a three-way competition here in the midfield battle.
Peter Stother slotting in, taking that low line, going to try to go 3 wide into turn 3. Embry-Riddle in the middle, Grand Canyon on the top side. Peter Stother's going to get it done before the corner, it looks like, and take advantage of the grip on the low line. But the 45 machine, Embry-Riddle working his way back up there on the exit. Peter Stother not so great on corner exit, mid-corner there. Embry-Riddle able to take that position back before they get to the start-finish. Looked like a little bit of grinding and rubbing with the wall going on. Saw some sparks up there in front of him. But it looks like Embry-Riddle is going to be able to make this move work for him and kind of held Peter Stother out there to the outside of the track. And got a couple cars getting involved in here as well. Pit State just behind the Embry-Riddle machine, going to try to tuck him behind.
Yeah, and it looks like down into turn 3. Actually, the 45 does have to put a little block on. That's going to be Peter Stother submarine. So from across the pond, Peter Stother, our late night specialist, is going to take this battle for the time being. Not over yet. We've got 14 laps to go, and we see Pittsburgh State involved as well. We saw Grand Canyon University. They're trying to catch back up. That's Derek Jennings in that 15 machine. And looks like Huron Valley going to move to the inside. Now moving to the inside, this is going to be for position. That is the University of Purdue trying to get around Texas A&M. We've seen these guys race before earlier in the race. This one is going to be for their race lead. And going down into turn 1 now. Looks like a little bit of space separates these cars, but you can see that Boilermaker machine right on the bottom.
Yeah, and Pitt State's not too far behind these guys, and he's got 3rd place right now locked in for the Alumni. Prather Silverthorne another 2 seconds back. So really this Alumni battle is starting to kick off pretty close here to the end. Only 12 laps to go. So we're getting on to the last half of these tires. So let's take a quick look at the wear on them, see what sort of times they're doing. They're already into the 31.4s up at the front of the field. So again, they've already sort of plateaued out. Probably won't get too much slower than that, but Christian Gomez still sitting there in 2nd place, about a second off of Farr's bumper. I'm wondering if he's just trying to conserve his tires a tiny bit compared to Farr. Though we found out in practice, Carl Lemkool and I found out in practice, that it doesn't take much differential in tire life to create a differential in speed on track. Even 2 or 3 lap differential in tires was just meant that the car being overtaken was not able to defend whatsoever and was losing all sorts of speed coming out of the corner. So it doesn't take much. So we'll see cars like Thomas Toomey, who sort of pitted earlier compared to some of the cars around him, might start to struggle a bit more at this stage in the race and have to defend a lot from the cars behind attacking.
Yeah, it looks like if they're going to make it work, Gomez would have to grab about a 10th. Looks like a little bit of smoke going on there. Looks like 69. That's going to be a caution with 10 to go. A caution as the 69 UC Berkeley machine, that was Alejandro Diaz, is going to find the turn 1 wall and have to make his way around. But guys, we are going to bunch him up here at the end. Not a green-white checkered, but yeah, actually it looks like he was loose in before he even started there. I wonder, we talked about getting into turn 1. It's very easy to get loose. And here he is, he's coming into the tri-oval, trying to get around the VCU machine of John Tyndall. But going out to the wall, just getting a bit of the wall, and that's all it took. And once you get on the apron, that's all it takes. So pretty tough there, but a single car adventure. Everyone else able to get by. We were following along with Austin Farr, watching him check up. That was a little bit exciting, but solid play there from our drivers too. Now stay as we looks like Henry Morris trying to get checked up under yellow. Pretty eager to join his friends there at the front.
Yeah, for those confused in the audience as to why the 69 machine would have been so close to that outside wall to start with there on corner entry, you really want to open up the entry to these corners as much as you can, and that requires you being right up against that outside wall as you turn into the corner and kind of turn in from the top side of the corner and then aim to meet up with the bottom side, that apron side of the corner, the blue line that goes across the track about halfway through the corner. And that's going to make sure that you can carry a lot of speed going down in there. So we see that guys taking that pit stop option, going for that second set of tires. Jared Kaler, all your leaders, Gomez, Kaholich, Morris, Toomey, everybody going in. A couple cars staying out. Looks like Alex Klenk is staying out. I had the 45 Alex Jensen Embry-Riddle University staying out, and a slew of other machines too. So we'll see how this plays out. 8 to go as they come off the pits here. Austin Farr is going to be hoping that his pit crew can get those tires on nice and quick, and he'll be able to escape that pit lane. He might just take right sides only and then a little bit of fuel. Let's look to see. No, he's taking lefts as well. Looks like everybody is. So no 2-side options only. He's able to win the race off pit road.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be hard for hard for 2 tires to overcome 4 tires here. So you see everybody with full service off pit road. So going to be interesting to see how this pans out. I think we'll restart probably with about 5 to go. And will there be enough traffic? We saw maybe 5 cars at most stayed out. So don't think that's going to be enough traffic. We saw the difference in differential, guys. I think that the drivers with new tires are going to have their choice of line. There won't be much blocking, whether it's high or low. They could just about take the apron, which would be legal here at Charlotte, to get around these leaders. So still looking at far. Actually notable that Sean Campbell in that 30 machine from Randolph Community College, splitting Gomez and Farr. You do wonder, actually, I wonder if Gomez played that a little bit. It would be to his advantage to start right behind Farr in that third position. Actually start behind Farr in any position, try and get around. So in any event, we'll see what they do, but maybe a little bit of strategy there. We talked about Jared Kaler and Michael Kaholich rounding out your top 10. So it's going to be a shootout for these guys when we get lined up ready to go. But Alex Jensen from Embry-Riddle is scored as your current leader. Looks like Alexander Klenk in second and Prather Silverthorne in third. Alexander Klenk, one of the many as well, completing his bachelor's in aerospace engineering at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, but staying in school one more year to get that master's degree, becoming more popular to do that 5-year program, and Alexander Klenk, one of them. So again, we shout out Alexander Klenk here. CIL, wanting to cover all our bases. It is the Collegiate iRacing League.
And I need to talk to Clint because I did 5 years but still only managed to get a bachelor's degree out of it. So I don't know what his strategy is, but mine didn't work quite so well. But we'll see if his race strategy plays out any better, sitting up there in second on that used set of tires. Prather Silverthorne, currently the alumni leader with Carl Lemke right on his tail for St. Louis University. Looks like Scott Ratliff is the man in third position in the alumni category right now, sitting at 11th overall. So we'll have to check to see what sort of tires he's got on compared to the other two in front of him. He may be on for a win tonight in the alumni field.
Yeah, and speaking of tires, the top 5 drivers all staying out. Their pit laps for Alex Jensen. He pitted lap 44. For reference, the rest of the field pitted just a moment ago on lap 67. Alexander Klink, you're looking at him right now, pitted on lap 52. Prather Silverthorne all the way back in lap 45. Carl Lemke also on lap 52. So all those guys going to try and hold off on old tires. And you heard John say it at the top of the hour. That tire really starts to wear off right around that 10-lap mark. So expect these front guys to have to do battle to keep any of those new tires behind them.
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll be able to do enough battle. You see a couple cars taking off, taking the wave around. That means they did not pit. They'll rejoin at the tail end of the field. But we talk about spinning tires on these restarts. And guys, I hate to say that even if the top 5 cars do not spin their tires, I think they would be so grip limited that I think the fresh tires behind them are going to have the advantage. So what I would look for on this restart would be a lot of congestion, would be 3-4 wide into turn 1 as Austin Farr and company get that restart. They will have to navigate where are they going to go. In fact, you can see Farr on the radio letting them know, hey guys, we don't have much time to lose. And Kaler as well agreeing on your screens. So going to be interesting to see what these guys do and where they put their cars as that pace car pulls off.
Ford Mustang pace car taking that hard left-hand turn on a pit lane. And Embry-Riddle's Alex Jensen will lead us to the green flag here in the CIL. 5 laps to go, and it's a shootout here. You see the 79 firing off, diving to the bottom from the top. Left out to dry is going to be Christian Gomez back there, but a good jump for Alex Jensen. He's going to get a 3, maybe 4 car length gap on Klink.
They are
really early there in the restart. Not something we used to see Austin Farr doing. Farr likes to wait a little bit longer. Farr has wasted no time, making his way up to third place. Is going to have a battle to hunt down Alexander Klink, who's also hunting down Alex Jensen at the same time. Look at the tire differential going on between these cars. We've got 3-4 wide coming through turn 4. The tire differentials really create some dangerous options here for some guys trying to go for gaps where they may not exist in a couple seconds time. We've got a 58 car up into the wall that looked like Jared Kaler, UNC Charlotte, still green on on my screen for the time being. Looks like everybody's green so far, so no car stopped on track. Austin Farr has been able to regain the lead. I've got cars flying in the air there in the back.
And we have big trouble in turn one. We couldn't handle the tire differences, and we'll have to see some replays to sort that out. The question is, was Austin Farr in the lead at the time the caution came out? According to the iRacing software there, you see Jeremy Rogers looking like he had some issues on that caution. But yeah, trying to go back, understand how that got started. Guys, it did get started when Austin Farr, we saw in the wall. I did see him get tagged on my monitor. You can see there the 112 machine up. It looks like Stother might have had to get out of the gas, no to lift. Big tap there to Rogers. But yeah, guys, once Stother was out of the gas, looked like the University of Purdue. Andrew McCall, big hit there. And I think you'll have to add one more to your Joey Logano playbook, John.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I don't know if Jeremy Rogers ever rode a mechanical bull while he was doing his undergrad down there at A&M. But if he did, I'm sure that experience would have helped him in that one. That car was flipping and tumbling quite a bit. That would be a pretty wild ride and a lot of cars involved there. So we'll still get that tire differential here on this next restart. These guys only managed that one lap and a half or so before Peter Stother actually just getting up in the wall, and then Purdue having nowhere to go. The 112 machine getting absolutely launched into the air there by the other car coming up underneath it. That looked a little bit like, I bet, what Bubba Wallace saw in that incident, was just that one car flying past his windscreen upside down. That would have been a scary moment in real life, certainly unsettling in the simulator as well. But I'm sure Austin Farr is pretty happy that he was able to dispatch Jensen and Clank before that yellow flag came out, because that puts two cars between him and Gomez, who are, of course, on the same tire strategy. Sean Campbell also able to capitalize on that, getting in front of Michael Koholich, I think, during that as well. Gomez, I think, retaking that position from Campbell in that process too. So two cars separating cars on similar pit strategies up there at the front.
Yeah, and man, that was tough, but a monumental play there from Austin Farr. That's going to put him in first. Christian Gomez will be in the row behind Farr and on the outside. So that's going to be an obstacle for him. So, guys, I'm going to go on record saying that it is Tennessee's race to lose here. They are in the prime position with the fresh tires. So, Embry Riddle, Alexander Clank, guys, they are going to start second and third. And we know Austin Farr is going to get a jump, and Clank will be in third. So, I'm going to look for those two to be side by side, and they will have to take a more gingerly approach to their restart on those worn tires. But guys, Christian Gomez and that 30 machine, as well as that 4 machine from Randolph and Angelo State University, are going to do everything they can to get around them. So we might have more of the same here, some 3-wide, 4-wide action. We only got to make it 2 laps, and then the next flag will complete the race.
Yeah, 2 laps to go, and I can report, Josh, from our pit lane reporter, that the 112 machine, that driver was okay after that incident. Jeremy Rogers able to escape unscathed, didn't break his thumbs on his steering wheel or anything in that sim during that process. So he's safe and sound, but unfortunately a lap down. He may have already used his fast repair on that as well, because I see him going 2 laps down, probably sitting in the pit lane right now, maybe retired from that one. Completely understandable, and that's what you get when you have those separate tire strategies working on a restart. You get huge differentials in speed, and everybody says that speed kills. It's not really speed; it's differential in speed. It's when you got a guy doing 90 and a 50, and a guy doing 40 in that same lane. That's where the danger happens, and that's what we saw on this racetrack. A couple guys having a lot more speed, 2 seconds a lap more speed than some of the other cars around them, and that tire differential played into this a lot, I would say.
Yeah, we did see there that it was the we've said, why was the 14 slow there? It was an odd place to be slow. I think he got into the wall and was given some help by the Pittsburgh State machine, Scott Ratliff, in that 747. So everybody trying to get every position they can, get every inch that they can, and it's showing here as we go through. So we will set up for a green-white checkered. Your leader will be Austin Farr on the more recent tires. Took a pit stop previously. You see lights out on the pace car. Jensen, Clank, Gomez, Campbell, Koholich, Anderson, and then Lemkool, Gage Anderson, also on those worn tires, as well as Lemkool, Toomey, and Silverthorne would be on those newer tires. And so that is your top 10 as they run. And guys, I'm looking for some more congestion as we get going in these final 2 laps.
Yeah, lights are out on the pace car. I think that's the 69 getting the lucky dog rule. He might be getting his wave around. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing down there on the pit lane otherwise. But yeah, pace car laps, lights are out. So we've got half a lap before these guys go green. And Austin Farr will clearly demonstrate for us what a tire differential will do at the front of the pack on a restart. And then Christian Gomez and Sean Campbell will have to work fast to get behind Austin Farr and around Alex Jensen and Alexander Klenk. That is their mission at the restart here.
Yeah, we saw 2 weeks ago at Dover, Austin Farr had it in the bag and then gave it back with a pit road speeding penalty. He will get a chance of redemption if he can be in the same position in 2 laps. He is coming to his favorite activity, the restart, where he will be the control car. When will he go? The pace car will pull off onto pit road. To his right is Embry Riddle, Alex Jensen. Tennessee Machine has decided it's time to go. Christian Gomez, fair start, but nonetheless, it's the 79 Machine out front. Immediately puts about 3 car lengths on the field. As we stated, nowhere for those fresh tire guys to go. Gomez trying to get around, 34 trying to move. Klenk putting the block on. Klenk now benefiting from a big push. 3 wide down the backstretch. They are racing to the white flag as we speak. And Angelo State University going to try to get low. Not going to do it on that 30 Machine. Alexander Klenk can't put the block on Christian Gomez. Christian Gomez to P2. And it's going to be worn tires on the outside of fresh ones in the tri-oval. A little bit of side draft. They touch, but they keep going the same direction. It's going to be Alexander Klenk on the outside again. He's going to try to hold on to 4th position with half a lap to go, half a second from Gomez to Farr. Guys, it is the University of Tennessee trying to get through turns 3 and 4 one more time.
Yeah, I think he's got it locked down. It looks like the battle's here between 3rd and 4th for that final podium spot. And Gomez still actually having to defend off of Campbell. Pretty tight here coming to the finish. We're going to have a bit of a battle coming near the line. Looks like Gomez is going to be able to hang on to it. So Gomez collecting the 2nd podium position and Campbell collecting the 3rd. Kaholich, Klenk, Toomey, Morse, Nordberg, Anderson, and Jensen, your top 10. That was a pretty tight finish there, and Farr absolutely demonstrating the advantage of that tire differential off the restart there. He pulled about 5 car lengths into turn 1. That was pretty amazing.
He did, and the InnoVetted white flag, guys. In fact, the InnoVetted green-white checker, giving us all the excitement that we expect. One of our more favorites, and ultimately the checkered flag will see Austin Farr ahead. And a good run by Christian Gomez. Guys, he exercised a lot of patience in not absolutely driving through those 2 guys there. So you hate to see it if you're in that position, but you love to see it if you're a Tennessee volunteer. Austin Farr, no stranger to victory lane, is going to go find it one more time. We'll see if they can get him a frequent flyer card down there.
Yeah, it's going to give us a nice little wall burnout against the Charlotte logo there right underneath the Goodyear Eagle stand. Love seeing that Tennessee car up there on the podium. We've seen it a number of times before. A chance at redemption you mentioned earlier, Jocelyn. He certainly redeemed himself tonight with that performance, commanding the whole way, able to nail the strategy. Not really too many guys getting the strategy wrong tonight. A couple guys really benefiting. Michael Kaholich up there in 4th, moving up there from 16th. And at a quick glance through your field, that might be one of your contenders for a hard charger. Actually, I take that back. I'm looking at Embry Riddle right now. Alex Jensen, 29th to 10th. 19 spots gained. I think that's going to be your hard charger award tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is some solid math. And we had a number of hard chargers tonight, from Angelo State there, as well as Alexander Klenk started up front, was able to stay up front from P6, I think, and looking like we're seeing the InnoVetted running order currently.
Yeah, guys, and this is the unofficial results here from Charlotte. Austin Farr in the 79 taking home the victory and heading to the InnoVetted Labs victory lane as we speak. Coming in 2nd is Christian Gomez from FIU, and 3rd in his first race, Sean D. Campbell. A great CIL debut for Randolph Community College and that team. Michael Kolitz from Angelo State coming away 4th. Alexander Klenk from WPI in 5th. Thomas Toomey from Virginia comes away 6th. 7th is going to be Henry Morse. 8th, Matthew Nordberg from NC State. 9th, Gage Anderson from UT Arlington, and 10th, Alex Jensen. And now joining us up in the booth is that second place finisher of Christian Gomez and the FIU team. And Christian, we saw you chase down far early in that green flag run, and then that late race caution put you behind a couple of cars on those old tires. Talk us through trying to navigate through those as quick as you can.
If I were to describe it, it might not be kid friendly. It took a lot of bravery to cut through the field there. It's man, no, it's just I can't. Going into this race, like it's been, I've talked with Jared about this. It's been a rough week for the FIE team with everything that's been going on, and didn't really think I was going to get a podium today. I didn't really think I was going to get second, but I'm surprised I'm actually here.
Have you managed to talk to your teammate yet? I know Munoz was involved in an incident a little bit earlier on, the number 9 car bit unfortunately there. So have you been in touch with him? I know you were mentioning earlier, I think when you had that podium at Laguna or the other road race, you mentioned you want to get some other FIU cars up there. Looked like it was a little bit of a struggle tonight for the rest of your team.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. We've been trying to be more consistent. I'm not sure what happened. I know he qualified really well in the top 10, so it was good to have the 2 cars there in the top 10 for today. Just I need to look back at what happened there. It's unfortunate, but it's just again that solely falls on me. We gotta work better. We gotta make sure we get more cars up here, and so I'm not out there fighting by myself.
Yeah, well, still a pretty good result for the FIU team. They're pulling in that second place haul of points for the team's championship, and you promoting yourself pretty well, I would bet, in the individual categories as well. So great job tonight. Anybody you want to give a quick shout out before we send you on your way?
Person who made this design, Color Teal Designs. He's been going through a rough one for quite a while, and every time I get one of these podiums, either in the CIL or the other leagues I do, I make sure to shout him out and wish him well. And oh my God, it's just that boys. That took that took
Yeah.
that took Ronco Timbare, that took right. All right, yeah.
All right, well, thank you, sir, and we'll sure to see you again up here, and we'll send you on your way.
All right, thank you.
It's a Christian Gomez right there. And you can just hear the excitement right there, for the FIU team needing a win, really, or needing a good result, and they got it here tonight. Christian Gomez battling all night long. And speaking of battling all night long, he didn't really have to do much of it, but Austin Farr coming away winner, and I feel like we say that almost every week. Last week, we saw that little incident at Dover with the speeding on pit road penalty, but you redeemed yourself here tonight, Austin. Talk about this race, especially that late race yellow.
Yeah, it was a fun race. Mile and a half's usually, I like it because we get a lot of long green flag runs, and qualifying on the pole is just so important on a track like this. Because I remember Jared had a really big chance to catch me. Maybe he was faster than me. But running in my wake really used up his stuff, and I was able to save and pull away at the same time. And that late race caution definitely made things interesting. I did not think I was going to survive passing those the cars that stayed out on no tires, but luckily everything worked out in the end.
So how relieved were you when the green-white checkered came out? And I think you had passed the 2 cars with older tires. That would have been Clank and Embry-Riddle. And so you restarted first, and Christian Gomez from FIU restarted 4th. What was your level of comfort / anxiety on that restart for those last 2 laps?
I'm going to say vary to both, I guess. I knew with that little time left in the race when the first caution came out, and that when no one took tires, I basically knew that the goal was to pass as many cars as I could. I had a feeling that the caution would come out, so I was really pushing hard to make sure I was in front of the cars on old tires before the next one came out. And luckily, I was able to do that, and I had I think it was like a row cushion to Christian behind me.
Yeah, it certainly worked out for you like that. And, I ran on board with you there for a little while. It looked like your ability to just kind of tiptoe the car down onto the apex really nice and smoothly, not take too much out of your tires, really benefited for you tonight. Is that a strategy that you've kind of worked on, really managing the tires throughout the course of the race?
Yeah, in a race as long as this, where there's a chance of a long green flag run, it's basically critical to have that ability to save, because it costs a couple people their races, and I just make sure that I'm not only I can't just hot lap, but I can run a bunch of consecutive laps where I'm not burning up that right front. So luckily I was able to do that and win this race.
You definitely did it right here tonight. Austin Farr, anyone you want to give a shout out to before you head to the InnoVetted Labs victory lane?
Sure. You guys for casting it. It's awesome. I love watching these back. NextBookIt for sponsoring the series. Everybody on Twitch watching. University of Tennessee, and all the boys in Discord.
You'd love to see it. And a great race again for you. And I'm sure it's not the last time we'll talk to you this season. So, Austin Farr, enjoy your night and enjoy this victory.
Thanks, guys.
The 79 machine once again in victory lane. And, guys, talk about a redemption race. He dominated nearly all race long.
Yeah, that he did.
Yeah, redemption race for sure. I'm sure the Tennessee team loves to see that. A nice points haul for them again. I'm sure that's going to promote them up a fair way in the point standings. We'll have to get that all sorted out later. You know, one of the things I was a little bit surprised at was Jared Kaler with that late race contact dropped him down to 16th. That's really going to hurt the UNC Charlotte team on their overall points haul this weekend. So here's your race results as they stand coming out of this race right now. Austin Farr, obviously your winner for Tennessee, Christian Gomez, and Sean Campbell, your podium sitters as well. Micah Kaholich had a good race tonight for Angelo Staint. Alexander Klank was up there quite a bit as well for WPI, able to bring it home a top 5 position as well. Thomas Toomey for Virginia, Henry Morse for UC Berkeley, Matthew Norberg for NC State, Gage Anderson for University of Texas at Arlington, and then Alex Jensen for Embry-Riddle are your top 10. Nick Trollman for Cal State Long Beach, Scott Ratliff, Pittsburgh State. 13th is going to be Carl Lemkool for St. Louis University. 14th, Nathan Brungut for, I think that was for Lynchburg, if I stand corrected. And then Derek Ekmana, San Diego State. Jared Kaler, 16th, bringing it home for UNC Charlotte tonight. James Blows, Chico State, down there in 17th. Prather Silverthorne in your alumni category is going to be for Colorado School of Mines in 18th. I believe Nick Trollman was your winner in the alumni category overall there in 11th up there. Andrew McCall, 018 car for Purdue sitting there in 19th. Jaron Valley, 20th for Wisconsin Oshkosh. John Tyndall for VCU in 21st. Peter Stother for Harriet Watt. Alejandro Diaz for UC Berkeley. Colby Sherwood for Ohio State. Derek Jennings for Grand Canyon, your top 25. Maximilian Bui for USC, Jeremy Rogers for Texas A&M, involved in that Joey Logano-esque incident earlier, Nathan Kuhl for Bemidji State, Brian Fenty for St. Joseph's, and Parker Eaton for NC State are your top 30, and then just 6 cars left on this long train of cars that we saw here tonight. Esteban Munoz, the second FIU machine, retiring early, 24 laps down. Jeff Peets, 32nd for Minnesota Twin Cities. Yuri Ismail for the University of Reading, Cooper Glick for Grand Canyon, Kenneth Brown for Virginia, and then rounding out your field and your finishers tonight in 36th, Mitchell Robinson for Texas A&M. So guys, as we're looking forward and looking back at this race at the same time, what were some things that stood out to you in this race? Looked like tire management was fairly crucial, but there's probably some other things lurking in there too that were pretty important. What do you think, Jarrett?
Yeah, and I mean, we saw pit strategy almost play a little bit of a factor. I was shocked we didn't see more guys stay out on that final yellow. We saw the tire difference about 10 laps, but knowing that it's only a green-white checker to go and you see maybe 1-2 guys stay out, I would have been shocked if we didn't see someone else join the fray and maybe try and keep Austin Farr back there, and instead of 5th, maybe 7th, 8th, and make him really work his way up through that slower traffic. So a little bit surprised by that, but definitely surprised by the run of Sean D. Campbell coming in 3rd here tonight in his CIL debut. And my pick to win, Michael Kaholich, coming through with a 4th place finish as well. So good finishes for both of those guys. Josh?
I was going to say, my pick did all right. I was looking for a top 10, got a top 10. Alexander Klank, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. And yeah, I think my surprise for the night was a little bit of a slow start, a couple cautions, guys trying to get their footing as they operate on this 1.5 miles, especially with a lot of dirty air. And the racing line here, especially through the tri-oval at Charlotte, does make this track a little bit skinnier than what it shows on paper. So all those maybe were surprises that I didn't expect, but about mid-race on, mostly what we expected with a longer green flag run, seeing some storylines develop, and then ultimately seeing those guys come through and race down to the wire there at the end, 3 and 4 wide, and thoroughly putting on an entertaining performance and display tonight.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm looking down the grid tonight, it looks like our big losers are going to be Esteban Munoz, who started in 8th and retired early to finish 31st, and Jeff Pete started and is finishing 32nd just behind Munoz. So two guys that I think got involved in some pretty early instance, maybe had to use their fast repair early and then couldn't get back after that, having to take that early retirement. So a couple cars hurt tonight. A couple guys really shining tonight. You already mentioned Michael Koholich. He was on my list as well. Thomas Toomey was able to claw back to a 6th spot, so just 1 spot up from his grid performance, but still pretty good result overall for Virginia. Then obviously got to hand it to Austin Farr. Commands it every single week in and out. We'll be sure to watch him as the season progresses. This was the halfway point, so only 3 races left, and including that drop race, this is looking good for Austin Farr in the championship right now, guys. But if Austin Farr is reading any books on how to maintain that championship lead, I'm sure that I can guess where he's getting those books from, Jarrett.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they're on NextBookIt. I think NextBookIt has a special message for us, so we'll hear from them and we'll get right back for some final thoughts here at Charlotte. So as you just saw right there, NextBookIt connects book lovers with each other to buy and sell all books, whether they're fiction, nonfiction, textbooks, encyclopedias, every kind of book you could think of is on NextBookIt. And you can buy, sell, and do it all on NextBookIt. And if you create an account, you go on nextbookit.com, you simply create an account. You can do it in 2 minutes. We've timed it. 120 seconds, you can do it. And use the code CIL 2021. They're going to donate $5 to the CIL Scholarship Fund, and that gets directly distributed right back to the drivers who maybe aren't able to afford a new track, a new car, and they're able to continue to participate in the CIL and give us these big fields you see here in front of you. 36 drivers taking the green flag here tonight, and really the Oval Series has been quite successful in terms of driver amounts here this season, guys.
Yeah, really strong turnouts. 36 total drivers tonight, almost topping what we saw at Daytona a few weeks ago. I think we had all 43 cars filling up the field that race. A couple guys weren't even able to get in that time. Dover also a pretty big turnout as well. I think it was close to 30 cars there. So really glad to see that the league is starting to get out there and get a lot of attention. And guys are wanting to come and represent their schools in here. And a lot of new names that we saw tonight. A couple new guys. Obviously, Sean Campbell having that great run for Randolph College, and then Brungett as well for Lynchburg. 2 guys making their debut tonight and having a good time out there. I don't know, Josh, what else?
But I think, boy, solid run for those 2. I think we are starting to catch our breath. Hopefully, Christian Gomez is as well. I think he was trying to catch it during his interview. Yeah, we have really solid performance from all the guys tonight, and looking forward to 1 week from now when the roadside goes to Road America, always a hit, and then we slow things down on the oval side at USA International. And so those are our next 2 upcoming dates for CIL.
And John, you mentioned Austin Farr with a healthy lead in the points, but it'll be very interesting on that non-traditional NASCAR track that we're introducing here in the CIL with USA International. How he's able to handle that, or will we see maybe the return of Nick Beaver, our late model driver, and see his short track prowess maybe challenge Austin Farr? up there at the top. So be sure to tune back in here on Twitch or YouTube, whichever one you prefer. And you can check us out in 2 weeks' time there at USA International. As Josh mentioned, if you want some road racing action, we head out to Wisconsin and Road America next week, same time, same place, Tuesday night, here on either Twitch or YouTube. So for one last time, for all of us here up in the booth, for Josh, John, and myself, and our wonderful sponsors, NextBookIt and InnoVetted Labs, thank you for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you again soon.